seeing as it's coming up to touring season, everyone's going on tour, thought it would be a good opportunity to share some tips and tricks on how to follow a tour cost effectively. Try and got this in some sort of order, pre-tour. Right, buying tickets. Check the standard sites like Ticketweb and C-Tickets, and wherever you normally get your tickets from. But also remember to check the venue's websites, because, well, following the William Control tour with Aesthetic Perfection in April, and what I've done for my tickets is I got Bristol and London from C-Tickets, but Ticketweb is the only major ticket retailer that had Manchester and Glasgow, but they charge a handling fee for e-tickets, and I am very much against handling fees for e-tickets. So what I did was I went on the venue's website for Manchester and got my ticket from there for about £2 cheaper. And for Glasgow, very much like Bristol has Bristol Ticket Shop, Glasgow has one too, so I got my ticket from there. No handling fee, and cheaper. Right, so moving on, we got travel. Always remember, people say that like Megabus is the cheapest thing, but it's not necessarily. Always make sure to check Megabus, Trainline and National Express and just compare all the prices, because sometimes they can be cheaper. Like sometimes I've got National Express for less than a Megabus. Sometimes a train's been cheaper than that. People always say that flying is super expensive. It would be more expensive than getting a train. But if you actually check, it's not necessarily. My friend Jess found a flight from Swansea to London for £25, where it's like £50 on the train. And again, for this William Control tour, me and my friends have a flight from Bristol to Glasgow for around £38 each. And it takes just over an hour to fly versus about 12 hours on a coach. I know which one I prefer. It's always worth, if you're thinking that you're going to do this regularly, then it's definitely worth investing in an NUS card if you're a student, a coach card for National Express. If you're with NatWest, I don't know if the offer's still on, but NatWest sent me a 4-year National Express coach card for going paperless with statements. That's it, that's the word. And if you have an NUS card, you get 12.5% off a rail card, which again is worth investing in. Uber. When you get to the places that you want to go, if it's like a big city, like I don't know, Glasgow, I know I've got Uber around there a few times, and I'll leave some codes for like free rides and money off in the description, so yeah, you can check them out. Uber tends to be cheaper than average taxi costs, but you have to be careful because if you cancel the journey or if they cancel on you, then you have to pay a £4 cancellation fee. Ticket splitting. Before I've got from like Leeds back down to Bristol for like £5 to £8 cheaper than just booking Leeds to Bristol in one straight ticket. I did Leeds to Birmingham and then Birmingham to Bristol. but it was the same coach, if you get my drift. So that was like leaving Leeds at 2, I think. Gets to Birmingham about 4 hours later, and then you do the next ticket separately. So it's like so the connecting one leaves Birmingham at the same time as the one that you booked down gets there, because it's the same coach. And then I've also done Leeds to London, London to Bristol. They're totally different coaches, but again, it works out cheap. You can do the same with trains. And so if you go on where the stops are, like where does it stop, then you can just pick 1 or 2 and be like, yes, I want to break this down, because again, it can work out cheaper. Like, it's always worth checking, but it's not necessarily going to be cheaper. So yeah, just keep an eye out on that. Booking hotels. Right. Personally, I always check both Hostelworld and Trivago, and for my hotels for where I'm staying, for gigs that I'm going to London next month, they're both through booking.com. Yeah, for my trips to London next month, I've got 3rd of February, a hotel near Belsize Gardens for about £27 for the night. Single room, I think. I think it was a single room. And shared bathroom, which again is perfectly fine. Like, no one does anything awful, and no one's gonna hurt you or anything. And then later on, staying somewhere else, which is a 13-minute bus ride from the venue for £25. So yeah, don't worry about having a private bathroom, because you're most likely just going to use it to pee. And then you're probably going to have an early coach the next morning or something. Unless you're lucky and found something for really cheap. Eurohostel is another one of my favourites. I always stay with Eurohostel in Glasgow and Newcastle, but they've also got hostels in Liverpool and Edinburgh. So if you find yourself going to gigs there, Eurohostel are the one. You can get private rooms. If you book for like 2 people, you still tend to get at least 1 other bunk bed. So you technically got a room for 4. One time I stayed in the one in Newcastle and we had 3 bunk beds, which was interesting. So yeah, it's always handy staying there because you can make friends, and like, hey, if you don't have anywhere to stay, you can crash here. 'Cause even though they say you're not allowed to take people up, no one checks. So usually fine. I've never had a problem. On the hostel note, dorms really aren't bad. Everyone's just there to have a good time. Everywhere I've stayed, people have been really nice. I've never stayed in a room for more than 4 people in a dorm, but even then, not all the beds have been filled, usually. And dorms are even cheaper. Like, I saw an 8-bed dorm for £9 per person. So yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go on to packing. Only take what you need, okay? Don't be like, oh yes, I may need another 3 tops. You're probably going to buy merch, so you're going to have these extra tops anyway. So you just take like a top for every day. I tend to just take a top for every day, pants for every day, bra for every couple of days, and a pair of jeans and a pair of leggings, because leggings on a coat is complete comfort. When I'm packing, I tend to fold them, and then roll them. Then they take up a lot less space, and it's really compact, and it's really easy to pile them up in your bag. I tend to have a carrier bag for my dirty clothes, so I don't accidentally wear some clothes I'd already worn on tour, because that does not smell good whatsoever. Earplugs. Do not forget your earplugs. Mine are Alpine. I got them, the Alpine Music Safe Pro. I got them from Gear for Music for just under £20. So they got a string, got your earplugs, and you've got different filters. I've got a different filter for each ear because this ear is actually damaged. So yeah, you get a spare earplug and some extra filters. Like the gold ones being the strongest ones, the white ones being the weakest. I've got one silver and one gold in mine at the moment. So yeah, remember to take earplugs, because hearing damage is irreversible. These reduce decibels, so it doesn't muffle the music at all, but like your ears aren't ringing. Ear ringing is a sign of tinnitus, and tinnitus, there is no cure. You're just stuck with a high-pitched ringing and sounding like you're underwater for the rest of your life. I can't imagine that would be any fun whatsoever. And finally, for packing, take a coat, even if it's the middle of summer, because it's cold at night, and coats double up as a blanket. And I can tell you, long megabus journeys, having a coat blanket is the best thing that I've done. Also, my friend has a cape, which is like a coat and a blanket, and it's comfortable. So yeah, coat or a cape, whatever takes your fancy. It's a good idea. And then we've got health on the road. So you got to look after yourself, so you don't like feel like you're dying. Coffee shop cards are my favourite thing when I'm on tour. So I've got a Costa card and I've got Cafe Nero stamp. Is like I've currently got enough points on my Costa card for a free drink and a half, because I just haven't spent them yet. And I think it's like 8 stamps on a Cafe Nero card before you get a free coffee. So yeah, before you go on tour, it's worth making sure that you're at least well on your way to that, because that saves so much money. You can also get like Mission Burrito. I've currently got a full card for that, so I get a free burrito. But again, you've got to watch out for like where they are, because there isn't one in London, but there's one in Birmingham, there's one in Bristol, there's one in Cardiff. I believe there's one in Plymouth, but I don't remember, so that's worth checking. I'll leave the link down there, maybe, if I remember. Smoothies are my tour staple. I have to have smoothies at least every couple of days, because you've got your fruit and your veg and your 5 a day, and they're packed with vitamins to help fight tour flu. And they also double up as food. So if you're feeling a little bit hanging, then I usually have either the Naked Smoothies green one or the Innocent Super Smoothies green one, because the antioxidants in them help you feel better somehow. I don't know how it works, but they taste so good. I usually take some cereal bars. Like, I've really grown fond of Belvita. And if you're wanting to stock up, they're currently half price in Tesco. So they're like $1.29 for a box. And there's enough biscuits in there to last a week. And they're pretty filling. So, again, good food for on the move. If you get a chance, then I know in Tesco the bake-off is done between 6 and 8 in the morning. So bread rolls are also good, especially if you're a little bit hungover. Bread rolls and water, amazing. If you're not too fond of water, little squash things. So you just flip the lid and then squeeze them out. And you get them in Poundland, and you can get them in every, like, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, B&M. Do them in B&M as well. Meal deals and Wetherspoons are really good for cheap food. Like, a meal deal is usually around £3. So if you've got like a sandwich that you like or a pasta salad that you like, pair that with a little bag of fruit or a cake or chocolate or crisps. I think that's all of them. And a drink. So yeah, you can get like your smoothies with that meal deal. And it's all good. Another good point is knowing your limits with alcohol, which is something I learned the hard way. Because being hungover on those 4 AM coaches or 8 AM coaches is not fun. As I went through a period of time where when I was hungover I just threw up all the time. So I couldn't really get to sleep on the coach because I was too busy going to the toilet to throw up, which is not fun. Throwing up on a coach is not fun. And finally, for staying healthy on the road, is if you have prescription drugs, like antidepressants or anti-anxiety or whatever, then remember to take them. You have to take them, otherwise you will feel crap. That's something that I've not been too bad at. The first tour I went on, I forgot to take mine for a couple of days. And I felt rough as all hell. Because you don't take them, side effects come back. And it's just not the sort of spirit or mood that you want to be in when you're on tour. Finally, I've just got a couple of tips for being on tour. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Right, if you're not sure where you're going, first time I went to Manchester, me and my friend ended up asking a policeman for directions to Satan's Hollow because we could not find it. And he was just more than willing to help. That's the thing, most people are willing to help. It's fine, just ask. Setting a daily budget, including for your food and your drink, including the alcohol, is always good practice because it teaches you to survive on a budget. I've learnt more from being on tour than I ever have done sitting in a classroom in school. So I've learnt how to handle my money, I've learnt how to handle my alcohol, I've learnt how to handle being hungry and all that jazz. So yeah, try it. Try setting a budget. Google Maps is your best friend. The amount of sticky situations it's got me out of because I found the nearest Wetherspoons or where my hotel is, or anything like that, the venue. You just gotta make sure you have enough data. It's pretty easy to learn how to find your way around with Google Maps, because if you zoom in far enough you can find whatever you're standing near. Like be it a petrol station or a train station or a corner shop, it's on there. Dry shampoo and wet wipes are ideal for when you're stuck in a situation where you're without a shower for a few days. Which, if you're having a shared bathroom, you might not feel comfortable with having a shower there. And that's fine. So you have a wet wipe bath and stick some dry shampoo in your hair. You can get some decent dry shampoo in Poundland. So that's what I use, and it looks fine. And yeah, it smells good. You don't look dirty, you don't look like you've been on tour, you still look fresh. And the final tip is, if possible, get to know the crew, because they can help you out. The amount of times that I've had help from band's crew, just by getting to know them, doing them favours, they'll do me favours, and everything's chill. Plus, if it's the sort of career that you want to go into, touring, then it's good networking. You just take each other's contact details and you're good. Finally, just remembered about this one, if it's a band coming from abroad, then they usually don't want to take so much merch back because it costs them extra money. So they tend to put the prices down towards the end of the tour. So yeah, if you're going to buy merch, leave it till the end, unless there's something that you think is going to run out of sizes, like a tour shirt. So yeah, happy touring!